Hello, everybody. My name is Matt Ross, and welcome to episode 31 of Brewing Conversation.
And I'm Charlie Van.
And with us today is Mr. Corey Dickinson from Community Beer Company. How are you, sir?
Not too bad. Good to be here. Good to be enjoying a beer on a Saturday or Tuesday afternoon, whatever it may be these days.
All together.
Yeah.
What are you drinking right there? I know that's one of your beer newer releases, correct?
Yeah, relatively new. So Hop Skinny, it's a low-cal IPA, which I think when you say that in the craft beer world, immediately it gets like a little bit of like oh really, low-cal? But it's weird, so you're drinking Texas Lager, and that is typically my go-to beer. I've always, as much as I appreciate like almost all styles of beer, I really find myself going back to like the old school, just really clean, easy drinking lagers. And but recently we put this IPA out, and although it says low cal and although it is like 95 calories, it drinks like a super refreshing, crisp IPA. I mean, it's good. The hop profile is banging, and I just I went on a bike ride earlier, so I just finished up like 45 minutes ago, and it's like the perfect after exercise go-to beer these days. So
you're right.
I just
a lot of it. Came back from a run, and so you're right. It's like
it looks like yeah, that and being whatever, self-quarantine sort of, or stuck at home, it's like, really easy to just like start drinking a lot. So if I can mix in like some lower cal beers into the mix, like maybe it's good for me too,
Yeah.
Well, I feel like all your beers have been pretty refreshing. I also have Citra Slice, which I really like, and we can get into that a little bit. But what is your thoughts on a lot of the low calorie beers that are out there, and how do you feel like yours, or what has kind of been the reaction to yours compared to others?
At the brewery, we're digging Hop Skinny. I mean, everybody, it's fun at work. You see like just these phases of what everybody is sort of drinking at the same time, and it's like sort of how it works. Like there's just like the popular beer at the moment, and it just goes cyclical. And right now, a lot of people at work are drinking Hop Skinny, and so it's sort of like this microcosm for the rest of the market, hopefully. But I think generally, to me, in the craft beer industry, like creating options is huge, right, for your drinkers, and approachability is big too. And so, not every craft beer needs to be a 7 or 8 or 9% IPA or hazy IPA or barrel aged beer or adjunct stout or whatever it may be. There are people that still want a flavorful beer and don't necessarily want the higher ABV or the higher calories or carbs. And so to me, I think, having that option is great. I think that's what craft beer is all about, is choice and diversity. So I'm all for it. I dig ours. I've had a few others that I definitely like. But it's, the thing about them is generally, and it's sort of like any IPA, but you got to drink them fresh. Especially the lower calorie ones that don't have the malt backbone to sort of hold up on the shelf for as long. That those hops degrade quicker in a lower, a lower ABV beer without a doubt. So as long as you're drinking them fresh, I've had a lot of them that I dig. Lagunitas makes a good one when fresh. It's pretty sweet. I think they're calling it daytime IPA, I believe.
I think
sort of confusing with all day IPA, but it's daytime is their low-cal one, and it's good. It's good. It's got a good hop profile for sure, but I like ours better, honestly.
Yeah, Charlie and I have talked about IPAs a lot, and I'm personally not like a huge IPA fan, but one of the few that I like, and I'm not just because you're here, but
dude, Mosaic.
It's very approachable. Like you just used that word just a little while ago. It's very approachable. The hops aren't super intense, and there's like a little floral kind of character to it that I really enjoy. It's just like good beer. It really is.
Without a doubt. I think balance is sort of the name of the game, where we are really, we really, with any beer that we put out, we're trying to find balance to where, it doesn't completely like obliterate your palate, and Mosaic is a great example of that. I mean, it hides the ABV well. It's 8.6%.
Yeah, certainly.
It'll definitely catch up to you for sure if you don't watch out, but it drinks well. And we get a lot of people that say exactly what you said, where it's like, dude, I don't drink a lot of IPAs. I'm not really into hops, but I can get behind Mosaic because it is like, there's enough of a malt backbone and enough balance where it's smooth. It's relatively easy drinking for a higher ABV beer for sure.
Yeah. What do you say, like, when it comes to your tap room, or even now with curbside pickup, with everything going on, your one beer that is the most grabbed?
Man, so this is going to be my next beer. I've got one on deck. We just released Medical Grade Haze, which is our hazy IPA. I don't know if you can see it. It's sort of
it looks.
Yeah, we modeled the label after like a medical marijuana bottle.
That's perfect.
yeah, you gotta have fun with this, right? So we just released that 2 weeks ago, and that was pretty amazing to see the market response. We sold a lot of it to go very quickly. In fact, we released a very small batch of a double dry hop version of that went on pre-sale. It actually releases on Monday, 4/20, but we did a pre-sale starting Thursday, and it sold out by Friday morning. So that was pretty cool. I think with the beer to go deal, and curbside pickup, we're just trying to stay, relevant really to our consumers, right? Because, while we're fortunate enough to have our beer out in the retail segment, right? You can get our beer at a grocery store or a liquor store, unlike some of the other smaller brew pubs. We have to be able to do some of the small batch sort of one-off beers, just so it's like, okay, I want to go to the brewery. I have to go to the brewery to get this beer. And so we've been having fun doing that, and when we can. And Medical Grade Haze, man, freaking killed it. We were like shocked, honestly. So it's cool.
That's good that it worked out.
Well, I want to ask you, since you help, you oversee the marketing there and community, what are some ways that you've been having to kind of get creative with pushing the brewery now during the whole with COVID-19?
Yeah, dude, it's a challenge for sure, to again try to stay at like relevant with your fans, and to stay at the top of their minds, because obviously people aren't going out really at all. And so if you can find ways to the one or two times they might go out a week, to have them make a stop at the brewery, it's great. So we're just trying to keep our content, like our social content, we're putting out way more social content than we ever have. And part of the reason is because people are just in front of the screens all the time now, right? You're like in front of your computer or your phone pretty much all day now. Yeah. And so we're putting out a lot more social. A few weeks back, I think we're going on like week 4 now, we started this thing called Nationwide Cheers, where, the idea was like, again, we're just trying to figure out how to, traditionally craft beer is like a very communal beverage, right? People like enjoy it together. And the brewery is a very it's a hub for events. We always have shit going on. There's always, some sort of awesome event going on. And without that, we're like, okay, how do we sort of like give people a semblance of like enjoying craft beer together? And so the idea for this like nationwide cheers, like, could we reach out to some of our colleagues, in other breweries, North Texas? And they're like, well, okay, what about the rest of the state, or even outside of Texas? Maybe we can kind of like get people on board to say, let's support local brewers, where you're going to go to the brewery, you're going to buy beer, from the brewery. And on Friday at 5, wherever you are, just like, even if it's just posting a picture with like that hashtag Nationwide Cheers, or, getting together via like FaceTime or Zoom or whatever with your friends and saying like, cheers, good to see you. And so we started the idea for this thing, and it just went nuts. I mean, the first week it was like, I was trying to like figure out how many people we reached with that campaign. I think it was like 200,000 in 3 days. Wow. It was crazy. Yeah, it was nuts. So we're doing some stuff like that. We're working with some of the other local restaurants too. So like Pie Tap is a pizza shop down the street from us. Rodeo Goat's a burger place, not far from us in the Stein district.
Burger place.
Yeah, dude. So we're offering like take home packages where you can take home and like, you know, bake the Pie Tap pizza at home and, you know, pick it up when you get your beer, or you can take home the burgers and make them at home. And we're actually working with a restaurant right now, hoping to have this thing set up next week for a like take home 5-course beer dinner. So like,
dang.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good stay home.
Sounds good so far.
Right. Like, so, you know, again, it's a work in progress, which, you know, it's like, if you can make it as simple as possible, where we're working with this chef and it's like, if you can take home these 5 courses and they're pretty much good to go. All you have to do is like heat it up in your oven or microwave, right? And like pair it with a variety 6-pack. So, you know, and then we basically have a link to our website where you go on and it'll have the chef and our head brewer talking about the pairings. And, you know, so it's like the chef will say, okay, yeah, preheat your oven to, you know, 400. And then our brewer's like, you can crack that first beer now. And here's your, and so to do that progression, and people can kind of, hopefully we'll see how that goes.
And then binge watch Tiger King.
Yeah, right. But any way that we can kind of get creative to give people, you know, some way to continue to enjoy our beer and to have something to do, I think is huge, because I don't know about you guys, but everybody's fucking bored, right? Like,
I think it just shows how much people do go out and how much, you know, socializing, whether, you know, you're introvert or not, especially Dallas is such a busy city where people are always out, at least on Fridays and Saturdays. And I've been, you know, Matt and I've been in your tap room many times. There's so many gatherings. You guys have your pub trivia. You'll even have your dog adoption day. Like, you guys do so much. Are there any other alternatives you're also looking at? I know you always have live music. I know a lot of musicians have been doing kind of live Zoom concerts or Facebook Live. Have you thought about doing something with some of those artists that you've had before?
Yeah, we've talked to a few of them, and we've also talked to, like, we do yoga once a month at the brewery. Do we want to do something like that? And I think what it boiled down to is there's just so many free, like, yoga classes and online exercise classes that we're like, we're not really going to be able to compete with that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the streaming, like, online show is sort of a cool idea, and I like it, and we might explore that further once I get off the Zoom call. But yeah, man, it's interesting. It's cool to see. People getting, I mean, you know, both in the beer industry and outside of it, just getting creative with ways of, you know, just engaging each other and still trying to be social at some level, and supporting local is, you know, I mean, it's always been an important thing, but I think now a lot of people have really come to understand how ingrained, like, local culture, whether it be a brewery or a restaurant or a bar or, you know, farmer's market, whatever it may be, how big a part of that in their daily lives that really is, and how important it is to support that, because when it's not there, you're like, your life it's not the same, man. You know,
you lose that connection.
Certainly lacking. Yeah.
Do you have, from a marketing standpoint, any advice for these smaller breweries that may not be in retail, or that any advice for them on ways, and maybe even the simplest answer, but to help them out as far as during this time?
Man, you know, I think it's just, you know, just determining how best you can support your fans, and how you can create opportunities for them to continue to enjoy your product. And so, you know, if you're not out in retail where, you know, people can't just go to a grocery store and pick up a 6-pack of your beer, then you know, you've got to figure out, okay, how do I get them to come out and buy beer to go? And so you need to make that as easy as possible, for sure. So whether that's online ordering, pre-sale sort of thing, whether that's, looking into, there are some delivery services that's like, a lot of them don't work direct with breweries, but, at least in Dallas for the most part, curbside pickup or working with, collaborating with other like local businesses, like local restaurants, that sort of thing, to say, okay, yeah, we're not in grocery stores, but let's do a run of a beer and say, okay, you've got this awesome barbecue package that you're selling to go. Tell you what, let's couple it with our beer. We'll do a run, deliver it to you guys. However you can get creative, and I think it's just like, go for it. There's no reason to turn down an opportunity. I think, it's like anything that comes across my plate these days, I'm like, okay, yeah, we'll give it a shot. Let's see how it goes. Because I think that right now it's, again, people are hungry. They're looking for, any way that they can A, support local businesses, and B, keep their life interesting and stay entertained. I mean, so.
Yeah, going out with actually going out, finding a way to go out to do something without actually doing it.
Right. I mean, what have you guys seen that's like piqued your interest, either in the beer world or outside of it?
I've seen a lot of interesting things. Actually, I work for a wine and spirits distributor. It's Republic. I'll just go ahead and say it. I'm pretty sure I can say that.
Yeah,
and
nice.
So I spend a lot of time in grocery stores, and it's just interesting to see, like, COVID's done a lot, obviously, but like the grocery stores have actually taken measures to where they are only allowing like one person per household in the store. They've put like protective glass up for the cashiers.
Yeah.
They've made like these legit decals they put on the floor. Like, so it's like, that tells me that they're thinking that this is going to be a long time. And
sure.
So, and then people are obviously, it looks like they're just going out and then they're going right back home. So, but I've seen, and it's been pretty interesting because like with what Charlie mentioned earlier about artists, they've put on like virtual concerts, which I think is really cool. And then what you just said about what community is doing with those kits and the interactive meal plans and stuff like that. That's really cool. I actually didn't even know about that, but of course I haven't been really ingrained in social media. I've been trying to kind of, I don't know, like I've been trying to kind of limit that a little bit. And I've been trying to like read, or like it's just really easy just to watch TV, spend time on the computer the whole time, playing games, whatever it is. I've been trying to go outside and like do things outside, but I really think that this is the way to do it. Digitally right now is the way to do it. I mean, like from I don't know anything about marketing, honestly, but like if your outreach is just through media, I mean, now's the time. I mean, like with Zoom, for example, this is a great tool for people to use. It's high, it's interactive. Otherwise, we would probably, I would assume we would be in person, or I don't know. Sometimes, we would be in the tap room or, what have you on a slow day. But I think people are starting to adjust to how they can combat this, and they're having to become a little bit more imaginative. And I think businesses and breweries are going to grow from this experience. And I think we as a people will, because I was told, Charlie and I on a previous show, I said, you know what, as soon as this is over, people are just going to go out. Like,
and that's the conversation that we're having on our end. Is like, how is that going to be managed? Because that's something that you have to sort of like, you got to mitigate that a little bit. It can't just be like, cool, floodgates are open. Like,
everybody rush. Right? It's a community. Let's.
And that's like another thing. We're not really certain how they're going to opening it back up from a government standpoint. We're not really sure how they're going to do it. I know it's going to be probably little by little, but it'd be kind of cool if, I'm sure a lot of people would do this. Maybe they'll do some kind of like post-COVID type gathering, but that's all going to depend on what are the limitations. Do people have to wear masks? Are we going to have to stand 6 feet from each other during this whole thing? We just don't have the information yet, but hopefully in time we will. And then, like you guys are going to be able to plan something to welcome people back. I'm sure you guys are going to have plenty of people come back and go to the tap.
There's no doubt. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. Certainly that pendulum will swing back pretty hard.
Sure.
And people, people, like I said, people are hungry to get out there and just enjoy being around each other and enjoy it, sitting in a restaurant or at a bar or whatever it may be. So it'll be interesting to see. And that's what we've been talking about a lot, is like how, whenever that is at a point where people are allowed to come back out to the brewery, what is that going to look like for us, and how are we going to manage that? And how, and obviously, I don't know. We don't have any of that information right now, but it certainly will be interesting. It's going to take some time.
Yeah, I think one thing, I was listening to the Bill Simmons podcast, and they're talking about how sporting events are going to be impacted, and when they do finally come back, or is it going to be where everybody has to wear masks and gloves that are sort of like at concession stands? And that maybe is obviously the same with restaurants. It could be something like, if you look at it after, September 12th, 2001, we had to adapt. We had to change a lot of things with, TSA and even at sporting events. Not that things may get that drastic, but it may, to an extent, to where it'll be the new norm, where everybody serving food has to wear gloves and maybe wear a mask while serving. But I do agree. Like, I think everything's going to gradually come back, and maybe hopefully restaurants are one of those that do come back. But everyone's going to be getting out, But I think during this time, some positives, it pushes you to get a little creative. Maybe you're reaching out to more people that you didn't before. We're already, before this, been such a digital world with social media. How many times have you, and you probably have seen around the tap room, everyone's just on their phones, texting, maybe texting each other. And that's actually a lot of times true, how we've already been connected through technology and that. So, but this is just bringing more people together a little bit that normally see each other day to day. But it pushes you to get creative.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, and I think maybe that is the one good thing. Is like, we're all in it together. There's not anybody or any industry that's not affected by this. So I think having that, just communal, struggle. It's like everybody knows, like, okay, we're all in it together. And so that does make it easier or better or positive in some sort of way, I think.
I think so too. I've just noticed a lot of people are, something popped up on my screen, Zoom. I was going to say that I've seen a lot of people really support local as much as they possibly can, which I think is great. That's one good thing I've seen about this, because I know the stimulus bill left a lot of smaller businesses out of the picture. The money ran out pretty quick. I think they said 2 weeks it was gone.
Yeah.
So like every time my wife and I get something to eat out, we always try to do local, like McDonald's and like major chains, they're going to be fine. We're not worried about them. That goes for, like, honestly, like, nothing against Miller Coors, Budweiser, but I'm probably going to buy like local beer, honestly.
Good. Thank you. Yeah.
From now on, so, and I think that's important. That's one good thing, I like, and then Charlie and I talked about this on previous episodes, but I think it's important to focus on the good, because like mentally, like I know financially this is hurting people, but mentally it has to be messing with people. Like, people
absolutely, dude,
are losing their minds. And I think it's good to focus on the positive, like what we've been trying to do. And, there's good that's coming out of this. And of course, you might have to knock some mud off to see the silver lining, but I think as a community, especially local, like, DFW, like, we're going to come out even better than this once this is over.
I certainly hope so. certainly hope it takes quite a bit of time for us to just go back to all not liking each other, you know.
Hey, you know, whenever traffic's back to its capacity, then we'll
Yeah,
hate
that's
each other
when.
again.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But yeah, you know, I certainly, I hope so, man. You know, we have always pushed the sentiment that like, it's a good thing to know who's making the beer you're drinking or the food that you're eating, right? And to put a face to it, you know, or a name to a company and be like, yeah, I know the guys over at Community, like they're good people. When I drink their beer because, and you know, and I think hopefully that, you know, now more so than ever and post COVID or whatever, that really does continue to resonate with people. You know, knowing that like, you know, your neighborhood's got your back, right? Like, I think it's, you know, we all kind of support each other.
Right.
And so hopefully that sentiment does continue well after this thing is over.
Yeah. And I think it's cool. I mean, you guys are called Community, right? And you obviously you guys support local businesses and artists and things like that, which is really important. On our show, we support and we promote like you guys. That's why, you know, whenever Charlie said that you were open to doing an interview with us, I was pretty excited because, you know, we share a common goal in that we want to promote local breweries, musicians that people probably have never even heard of. And, you know, I think it's great to show that support for these people like you guys and, you know, restaurants, businesses, like anybody that wants to come on, really. It doesn't even have to be beer. Like we'll talk to anybody, you know, if they want to get the, you know, some more airtime. You know, people are probably listening to podcasts right now more than they used to because I mean, there's not a whole lot to do right now. So, you know, but anyway, I wanted to kind of ask you about your tenure at Community so far. I'm sorry, this is really weird because I'm looking at the camera, so you can like it's like I'm looking at your eyes. Like, otherwise, like I'll be looking at it. So like it's just weird talking to a camera, but
staring right at me.
Yeah. So I was gonna ask about like your tenure at Community and can you kind of explain to people like what you do? I know Charlie kind of touched on your title, but like what is it that you do at Community and like how long have you been there and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So I've been at Community for 6.5 years. So almost, I actually, my first day of work was our 1-year anniversary. And I moved, it was sort of funny. Like, so I was running a brew pub in Denver called Vine Street Pub and Brew, which is, you know, not to get too much into it, but Mountain Sun is one of the oldest breweries in Colorado. I think they're like the second oldest brewery in Boulder. And they're really like a mainstay. And they have a bigger brewery in Denver called Vine Street. And so I was managing that spot. And I knew I was moving down to Dallas. And so ended up hooking up with Kevin and Jamie, who are the founders of Community, kind of right when they were getting started. And, you know, it took a little time for me to get down here. But I got brought on to sort of like open their tap room and just kind of help grow the brewery. You know, I really sort of like was very much in line with like their philosophy on business and beer and what beer should be. And the idea was sort of that, you know, we wanted to create like a social hub for, you know, our cultural hub for North Texas, a place where people could get together and just enjoy beer, right? And hopefully enjoy really good beer. And so, my first day of work was our 1-year anniversary party. And I think we had like 1,100 people came out to it.
Wow.
And so I'm like, what do you need me for? Like, you guys are like, is it like this every day? Like,
it's like your marketing's online, it looks like.
But anyhow, so I started with opening the tap room. And so I oversee, it's kind of been insane, like to put this into perspective, like at one point or another, all of our forward facing anything, I guess you could say. So taproom operations, like packaging, distributor relationships, all of our like traditional and non-traditional marketing, our events, sponsorships and donations, like all of our packaging materials at one point. I oversaw all of that stuff too. And so as we've grown, I was kind of the guy that was like, okay, if you're not brewing beer, like then like that's you, like, or you're not overseeing our financials, like that sort of goes to Corey. Just send him that email or whatever. But and as we've grown, we've obviously we've brought on a lot of amazing people, and so they've all taken a lot of the stuff off my plate, and so now I guess in some sort of way, I don't know. I mean, I oversee all of our marketing, but that's a pretty vague term, and everybody always asks like, what do you do? Like, you just drink beer all day, honestly. But a lot of it is just trying to figure out, like, I think it's really important for any business, especially beer, to maintain like your authenticity, and to stay true to like who you are as a company, and to be able to like communicate like the personality of your business to your consumers, right? So like it's very important to us that people understand like what type of a brewery we are and who we are and what we care about, and we hope that like we can convey that through our marketing and our beer as much as possible, and our events and everything else. Because at the end of the day, I mean, anybody can. It's pretty easy to brew beer. It really is. I mean, to brew really good beer consistently is difficult, but you can brew beer. Anybody can do it. But to create something where people like feel that like like brand, have that brand loyalty, and really get behind who you are, that's important, and that's what we're trying to do. And it's amazing because at the end of the day, we're just like, dude, we brew beer, but we've got a lot of like really like loyal fans, and it's amazing to see, and it's humbling. So anyways, we went off on a tangent there, but that's sort of like my job, I guess. I don't know.
That's good for me. I mean, it was a nice tangent actually. But I'm at right now. I haven't had this before. I just opened it, poured it in the glass.
I love Citra Slice.
So for those of you that know, you can go to Community's website, and they have a beer finder, and you can just put in your zip code, and bam, it'll show you stores, gas stations, anywhere that sells Community. That
started 2 days ago.
Yeah,
we just launched that website on Monday. Like we launched that like literally, I don't know, Tuesday, Wednesday, and the beer finder finally like is working sort of the way it should as of like 2 days ago. So
yeah, really cool. And it worked really great for me. It shows you a map, and it has pins, and it tells you if it's a Kroger or Whole Foods or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I got a variety pack from Kroger actually. So it had 4 beers and 3 cans each. And then this one was in it. I'm sorry, I forgot it. Citra Slice.
Citra Slice. Yeah, dude. So, I don't know if you've seen it in your industry, but right now
that's what it looks like in the
variety packs and like larger format stuff is doing really, really well for us.
And
I think
it's. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good.
Charlie and I have actually talked about this. I'm saying that a lot, but we've talked a lot.
Quite a few episodes.
Yeah. So like you pick your 6, that's a good way for people to branch out, choose beers they've never had before, and then they're not stuck with like, the remainder of the pack if they didn't like it. I think they're great. I know, you guys do it and Shiner does it. It's a great way to show people like, this is what we have to offer. Like, here you go. Like, you can try all these. And okay, again, not because Corey's here, but this is good.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I'll tell you about that beer once we get off the variety pack, like large format stuff. But it's been amazing, man. It's been amazing for us to see. And unfortunately, it's also like the most difficult format for us in terms of like labor, because it's all of those cases are packed by hand. So you can imagine like how fun that is for our packaging team to, be like, cool, 3 of these.
Yeah, take three Mosaic off the line here and put it into the box.
It's very labor intensive. I mean, we hand glue every freaking case. It's, you know,
it's about as local as it gets, folks.
pretty much, yeah.
All by hand.
I mean, it's to the point now where our brewmaster, who, I mean, his job is really to oversee all of our brewing operations on a very big picture style, right? Like making sure that our hop contracts are secured and recipe formulations and that sort of stuff. He's on the packaging line gluing cases and being like, you know, because it's right now people are buying in bulk. It's like sort of that doomsday scenario where like, I gotta like, you know, stock up. I gotta stock up. I'm only going to the liquor store once this week. Like,
Except they're not buying almond milk, so that's, I mean, there's enough almond milk for it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's been amazing for us to see those sales grow actually like a lot in the last couple of weeks. It's also a beat down, but it's, you know, but it's good. And it gets people the opportunity to try beers from us that they never have, like you. And Citra Slice is a cool beer, man. We
if you want, you can go ahead and talk about it if you want.
That sort of came from like okay, so a few years, maybe 3 years ago, we launched that beer last year, but about 3 years ago, we were finally there it is, up close. We finally got to a size that we were invited to hop selection out in Yakima Valley, which is a really freaking awesome opportunity and experience where we send a few people from our production team get invited to go out to. So Yakima is a region in Washington where the majority of hops are grown in the United States. And so when you get invited to go to hop selection, it's because you got to a point, you know, in your growth that you're buying enough hops that you get to go and you get to actually select like, okay, you know, this specific region of this farm, you know, that is growing like for, you know, Mosaic, let's take for example, like we like this lot of Mosaic particularly because hops they're vegetables, right? So, you know, they grow. There's a lot of variation, right? They're organic. There's a lot of variation between, you know, if you eat anything, a pepper or something like that. You know, just because it's a green pepper doesn't mean it's necessarily going to taste the same every freaking time if it's from a different part of the country or a different part of the farm. So Mosaic in particular is a hop that we use a lot, and so is Citra, which is where that beer gets its name. But there's a lot of variation in Mosaic crops and Citra crops, all hops, you know, in general. And so we get to basically like hand select the specific flavor and aroma profiles that we're going for. And so Citra Slice is like sort of the product of those trips to Yakima, where we got a hold of some really amazing Citra hops, which are known for their like lemon zest, orange peel, like very like tropical flavors. And so we wanted to create an IPA that really just highlighted those sort of like orange and lemon peel flavors. And so we actually added orange and lemon peel to that beer. But yeah, it's like a 7% IPA with orange lemon peel and primarily Citra hops. And it's good, man. I dig that beer a lot. It's great.
It is real. I mean, I love, like, anytime I see it on tap somewhere, I'm always grabbing it. Actually, I'm going to name drop somebody who performed at your brewery for the So Far show. Little Giant Garrett Bond. He's a big fan of Citra Slice. And
nice, dude.
I saw him grab it. That's when I first had it, was at the So Far show last summer. He was grabbing it. He's like, dude, you got to try this. Shout out to Garrett. Thank you. Because, I mean, whenever I see this on tap somewhere, I have to have it at least one.
Nice, dude.
And, you know, this is one, you know, we're getting close to summertime. Hopefully, all fingers crossed, at some point we'll be able to go to the poolside. I mean, this is a great, like, chill outside of the pool, kitchen raised, but really year-round anyways. But, I mean, this is so drinkable. I mean, it is 7%, but don't let that scare you because it's super smooth.
I was going to say, it's very smooth. It's a great beer. It really is.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys like it.
Yeah, we're not the only ones.
Yeah, we're not. No, it's I've seen, and I kind of, whenever I go out, and Matt, I don't know if you're like this, or Corey, if you're like this, whenever you just hear what people order, just sometimes just kind of listen while you're ordering, or if people, you can kind of see your stump. And I was like, hey, what do you like? Like, you got to get the Citra Slice. Like, whenever I see it, because it's that happy medium. Like, it's not overly hoppy, it's smooth, but you can kind of tell they don't want to go like light or too light. And I was like, you'll have fun with that. Or if they're like, yeah, I really love the Mosaic, but I want to go a little bit smoother, I'm like, well, Citra Slice. So
thanks, dude. Yeah.
Spreading the good words.
Now, Jamie Fulton, he's our brewmaster, and man, that guy, he's
an artist.
He's a really freaking talented guy. I've learned working with him. It's really been an amazing experience working with him, because he started way back where, he got a formal brewing education in Germany, actually, and then opened up a brew pub back in the day in Fort Worth called the Cubby, which I guess at the time, and I wasn't living in Texas and, back then, but apparently there wasn't anything else. It was sort of like before its time when, but he was winning medals for his beer back when he had the Cubby, for like a lot of traditional recipes, like particularly like Vienna lager was a big one for him. And so that's sort of where we got our roots, was like a lot of these traditional, like you look at, way back years ago, like six years ago, we had like Vienna lager, our public ale, which we still make now, which is taking back-to-back golds at GABF, our wit beer, which is Belgian white ale, to gold at the World Beer Cup. So anyhow, the guy he has a knack, man, for recipe formulation. He's so great at sort of visualizing, like, okay, here's what we want to do. And then he does it, which is amazing. So on my standpoint, I'm like, okay, this is like sort of the beer maybe that we want to do. I think the market, based on sort of trends and what people are drinking and seasonality, like this is what we want. And he has an amazing ability to say, okay, yeah, I can do that. I'll figure it out. And like, it really is an amazing pleasure to work with that guy. It is.
You just mentioned GBAF and those medals. By the way, congrats again on Texas Lager back in this last festival, gold medal. How do you guys decide which you want to enter in for competition? Like, is it a long meeting? Is it, because all your beers, I
can only imagine
what that's
like.
But where you're like, okay, this one we really feel is the winner here, or at least we need to try it out for competition.
So you'd think that there'd be like a pretty like lengthy process of us like trying beers and talking about it. In all honesty, there's not. Jamie is just, and it's sort of like I'm on the marketing side, and I know our sales team is like, dude, don't enter beers that people can't buy if we win. Because they're like,
it's like the old movie days. You had to see it in theaters because it wasn't coming to DVD.
But really, man, Jamie, he makes the call, and I think we all sort of decided that that's the way it should be. The brewing team, they should say, dude, this is what we're stoked about. This is what we think that, we've brewed that is just spot on for that style. Like, and this is what category we want to enter. And so we might have, like blind, like sensory analysis panels where we sit down and we try different batches of the same beer to say, this is the one. Because there is slight variation amongst batches, just what it is. But at the end of the day, as far as what beers we send to competition, Jamie is the one that's like, yeah, I want to do that. And sometimes it's interesting. I'm like, oh, okay, dude. Like, we're going to send a beer that we, because there's like categories for, I don't know, like aged beer, right? You can do that or something. So it's like, okay, this is a beer we brewed last year, which is cool. It's cool. But if we win, then they're like the sales team, like, dude, we don't even make this beer anymore. And we'll, anyways, but for the most part, yeah, it's cool. GABF, man. So have you guys ever been?
We have not. That is a goal of the podcast.
Yeah, that's on our bucket list, so to speak.
Yeah, definitely. Make a point to get out there, man. It's just not only the festival itself, which is just insane. And actually, like I was talking about this on a conference call 2 days ago, like whether or not GABF happens this year. And
yeah,
I don't know. Who knows? Because it's so many people. I mean, it's like, I don't know, 60, 70,000 people. The actual, the actual hall where they host the festival, it's out of control. I mean, you can't even like, have you been to like big Texas Beer Festival? All right, we'll put that one on the list too. Big Texas Beer Fest is, I think they're going to shoot to have it in the summer this year, maybe fall, maybe, I don't know. We'll see. But that's the one that's at Fair Park.
Yeah, it was supposed to happen earlier or late March this year.
Yes, yeah. Well, I was going to compare GABF to that, but it's so expensive and so impressive, and it's absolutely, I mean, like hundreds, and I don't know how many, like 800 breweries, I think, and then there's however many thousands of beers entered into the competition. So you go to the festival for one day and it's great, but the cool thing is like all of the surrounding beer places, whether it's a brewery, whether it's a craft beer bar, whether it's a restaurant. I mean, it's basically like the festival takes over Denver. And so it's just a great time to be in Denver and to just get to try so many amazing beers. It's cool.
Yeah.
Well, we definitely hope to make it out. I mean, yeah, everything's kind of, I know, right, this week was supposed to be the Dallas International Film Festival here, which is huge. I mean, I would say right up there, close to South by Southwest. It's become that, and it's postponed to October, although hopefully, fingers crossed. It's usually, end of September, early October, correct?
Yeah, this year it is in September. I don't remember the exact dates. I can look, but
hopefully, I mean, that's the big hope, that because you can't really do like a digital beer festival. I don't think.
No, it was a bummer that they canceled the World Beer Cup this year. That was like, and Craft Brewers Conference was. I mean, we were all really. I mean, to host it in your home state, it's going to be in San Antonio. Everybody was really looking forward to that, and so it's a bummer for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we're just hoping everything by then. Because, we've talked about a lot of these beer festivals and getting more involved and covering them, or, either way, just being there in attendance.
Yeah.
But we'll wait and see what happens. But we'll keep promoting though, for sure. You mentioned about coming from Colorado and Denver. Just talk about that atmosphere. It's kind of always been considered legendary when it comes to microbrewing.
Sure.
And then adapting here to good old to Texas life in Dallas.
It took a little while. So the first time I moved out to Colorado was for college. I went to University of Colorado in Boulder.
Oh, nice. Good film scene, by the way.
Yeah, it's a good scene.
It's a cool town, Boulder.
Isn't it kind of like Austin of Colorado a little bit? I've heard comparisons.
It's sort of. It's changed a lot over the years. I guess everybody says that about every city. What it used to be.
Back in my day.
Well, it's pretty cute these days, Boulder. But dude, it's a relatively small. It's a lot smaller than Austin. Obviously, I think there's when school's in session, it's like 90,000 people. But it definitely has that funky arts-oriented vibe, without a doubt. But when I moved out there, so I'm originally from New Jersey, and I moved out to Boulder, and the beer scene just shocked me. I mean, there wasn't craft beer in New Jersey was Brooklyn and Sam Adams. Literally, that was pretty much it. There was one brewery that I knew of in northern New Jersey that Ramstein was the name of it. I don't even know if they make beer anymore, but I was just so drawn to it and intrigued by how much the beer scene was like ingrained in the culture of the town, and how much like, I mean, you know, it was everywhere. It was like a part of the identity of who Boulder and then Colorado still. I mean, you think about Colorado and it's like, yeah, well now it's like, yeah, legal marijuana, craft beer, skiing, like, you know,
the Denver
like,
Nuggets.
Yeah, the Nuggets, sure,
sports,
the Bronx, yeah. But beer is a huge part of like the culture there, and people are really proud of local beer out there. And I mean, you know, every like event and bars, it's like a big deal. Like, you know, New Belgium releases. I remember when they released Tubalo for the first time, which was like their winter seasonal beer back in like, I don't know, man, like maybe 2001, and it was like a big deal. Like it was like, yeah, oh, this bar has Tubalo. Like, holy cow, awesome. Or when like somebody scrounged up enough money for a keg of like Fat Tire or Sunshine Weed or, you know, like, hazed and infused, and you're like, wow, you just spent like $100 on a keg. Anyways, but yeah, I was always really drawn to that, and then I came back to that to the industry. You know, years later working in Denver, and then coming to Texas was, it was sort of incredible because it was almost like looking into the past in some ways. Like, you know, Texas, we were pretty far behind. There was, you know, when I started at Community, there was Petacolis, Deep Ellum, I think Lakewood too, had maybe just started. And that was about it. I mean, you know, and then there was Raw out in Fort Worth. But so it was literally like the Wild West, sort of, where like you had this, there was so much opportunity, and it was so cool to be able to say like, this is, to have like a little bit of input as to what we wanted the beer scene and the culture to look like and feel like, and you know, in Colorado, I never had that. I mean, you know, when I was in the industry there, it's like, it had been around for 30 years. And people are like, yeah, you work for a brewery, that's cool. Like, whatever.
Like,
you know,
no,
we like craft beer. It's great. And it was sort of like a given, like, yeah, craft beer. But, you know, here 7 years ago, it was great to be able to say like, yeah, like these are the types of beers we should make. And like, this is sort of like the culture that we want to create. And it was almost, it's been really amazing to see it grow and become, like ingrained now into like each town and each city and into Texas. And Texas is, I mean, obviously, I don't know if you guys are from here, but Texas people like fucking like love Texas, right?
We're from here.
There's a lot of
amount.
pride.
There's that Texas Forever that goes.
There's a lot of
Although
you're rocking the stars that too.
It is interesting though, because like Dallas, like you just mentioned, you know, you moved to Dallas. A lot of people, like even my parents, aren't from Dallas, so there's just so much growth here from people from all over. There's not like, I mean, yes, there's a lot of like Matt and I born and raised, but there are far more in DFW, I feel, that are not originally.
Sure.
Oh yeah, especially these days, everyone's moved. A lot of people are moving to DFW. My parents are one of those people. They're actually from Grand Junction, Colorado. They moved down here in the early '80s because there weren't any real jobs in Colorado. So they moved down here, and we've been here ever since. But ever since they've been down here, they're like, we kind of want to go back. But I like both states. But I will say you're right. Like Texans are proud. We're proud of our barbecue. We're proud of our sports teams, even if they aren't winning, and we're proud of our beer for sure.
Yeah. And so that's been awesome, man, because it wasn't, you know, like to see, look, you know, I don't know, 6-7 years ago when you're like, Texas beer, like if you asked somebody to tell you about Texas, it would be like, you know, Shiner.
Lone Star?
Maybe Lone Star, like maybe there was a couple of like, you know,
I mean, it's in True Blood. Well, I want to ask you about that though, about the film industry getting involved, because Jensen Ackles, who you know from Supernatural, him and his wife opened a brewery, family business out of Austin. I saw. You ever see Hell or High Water with Jeff Bridges? Came out. He had Shiner in that, which I used to never see Shiner in movies. Do you think that's the next feature step for a lot of craft beer, maybe even with community? Maybe because there's one thing I will say about Dallas is you know, in the 90s, we definitely had a film scene. You know, we had Walker and Barney, but the independent scene is still here throughout Texas. Has anybody ever approached you to utilize community brewery in their film?
Yeah, actually, yeah, quite a few. And I think we've had Mosaic in some very, very small films. I mean, real small. But there's one, and it's supposed to come out, I think, this fall, that they're supposed to like it, and it'll actually be like a legitimate release. But I haven't. Initially, they were like very open to saying, we will send you like photos of it on set, just so you can see. I mean, we had like, because most of the movie takes place, and I'm not allowed to like talk too much about it, but
yeah,
essentially most of the movie, it surrounds one guy who's a Vietnam vet, and it takes place in like a bar, like a dive bar, like a VA dive bar. And so we were giving him like neons and tin tackers and all this sort of stuff, and a lot of like Texas lager and Mosaic, because they wanted to feature a Texas beer. And so we're gonna see what that looks like. They told me they would send me like some clips and stuff, but they haven't. So we'll see.
Has
but if
anybody
that
filmed
does
there?
come out,
Has anybody filmed in community yet for anything like music videos, short films?
we did a Dickies photo shoot. That was
Oh,
kind of
no,
cool.
that's awesome.
Yeah, for the like the brand that is based out of Fort Worth, and they actually ran some commercials during, I think it was 2 years ago. College football didn't make it to the Super Bowl, which would have been rad. Where they actually had our branding and our kegs and that sort of thing. Like it was like Dickies workwear. So one of like their, I guess, commercials was like focused on brewery employees, because a lot of people wear Dickies brewer shirts and that kind of thing. So I guess that was cool. I had friends in like that are like, dude, I was just watching the Giants game. Like I saw community on kegs. Is that possible? And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
We didn't really see a spike in sales or anything. You know?
But I think it is a good connection though, because you know, obviously forever you see Bud Light, Budweiser, but I mean, I think craft beer is something, and it may be like just a good negotiable in that, just to have that in, because I don't know, it feels like, I don't know, for me it feels more authentic, because that is what you go to cities now. Like my uncle lives in North Carolina, and I haven't been back in a long time, but their brewery scene is huge.
Yeah.
So and my sister's about to move back to Nashville. Their brewery scene is huge too. So like every city and hometowns, there's at least even a small brewery, microbrewery. So that may be something that now with film and television, and once again, not knocking Budweiser or any of that, but they've been around for a while. But it may be more authentic that you see Ozark and they're at a brewery. You know,
sure,
maybe that's the next plot line.
I weirdly always try to like pay attention. Like I'm always like, what are they drinking in this scene? You know, and a lot of times it's like the label's not really facing. But I do know a few of the bigger breweries that do like strategically get product placement that way. See, I mean, we talked about Lagunitas earlier a little bit, but their Lagunitas IPA, I've been seeing that.
I think I have caught that a
films,
couple of times.
And shows and that kind of thing, which is interesting. And I always wonder, I'm like, you know, I'm assuming that's a paid spot, and I wonder how much that costs. And like, you know, but you know, for us, man, like our main marketing focus really, like, we have two huge goals. One, if we can, is to get you to the brewery, right?
Yeah.
Because you get to experience who we are firsthand. And that creates a lot of brand loyalty. It's just having that experience of like, I've been there, I've met the people, I've drank the beer at the brewery. And that really does correlate strongly to buying our beer out in the market, whether it be at a grocery or liquor store or at a bar or whatever. But then the secondary one is just to get beer in people's hands. So I don't know if we'll push hard for like any sort of like movie or film spots or TV spots, but we will donate a lot of beer, and we donate a lot to nonprofit causes and that sort of thing. And it's really, I mean, not only is it obviously for a good cause, but it's just getting your product in people's hands is big. I think that the ability for somebody to say, dude, Mosaic, didn't think I liked IPAs. I like IPAs now. I'm gonna buy. That's huge. So those are
there's only a couple that I'll buy, and one of them is Mosaic, and I will say that the other one is Deschutes Fresh Squeezed IPA.
Yeah, solid.
That's a good one.
Deschutes, man. They're such a consistently just solid brewery across their whole portfolio. Really, I mean, they do such a great job, and man, it's a cool spot too if you've ever get a chance to go and visit any of their breweries. I mean, they have a couple now, but Bend, where they started, is such a great little beer town in Oregon. It's amazing. Same thing with North Carolina, dude. You got to go.
Yeah.
I've heard Sierra Nevada
I've
has
been
a nice
since I
spot
was.
there.
It's been a long time.
My God.
I've heard of Asheville.
Yeah. I mean, the last time I went to Asheville, I was like 13 years old.
So
that's a long time.
We recently took a trip out there. Kevin, who's the founder of Community, and Dave, who manages a lot of our social and events and that sort of thing, and myself. It's important to visit different places just to get a perspective about what other places are doing and how they're doing it and what types of beers they're making, what sort of environments they're curating at their breweries and that sort of thing. And so we flew into Charlotte and then went up to Asheville, and Asheville's such a great beer scene. The culture there is amazing. And you brought up freaking Sierra Nevada. It's mind blowing.
I love
I love pretty much
Nevada.
the description I've heard from
their spot. I mean, they call it like Malt Disney World, and it's like,
I like that.
It's
that could be a name of a beer, man.
Yeah.
Hopefully Disney won't come after you for that.
But it's just, it really is extraordinary. They did every freaking square foot of that place. They did not spare any cost. It's something for us to be like, wow, one day maybe. But yeah, it's a great beer scene, man. And I mean, even all the way down to the smaller guys Burial and the Wedge and some of these really small breweries that are just doing such great beer on a small scale. It's a lot of good beer coming out of North Carolina these days for sure.
Did you go to the Biltmore House there in Asheville? I mean, it's hard not to go to Asheville and not go to the Biltmore House. If you got to see the bowling alley there, you can still smell the chlorine. And Matt, this place, if you haven't been, it's like the 20s the last time early 19th that somebody lived there.
I don't know, man. They got that indoor pool and stuff, and it's wild.
It's kind of creepy. It's cool, but it's kind of creepy. And there's this wine vineyard, so that you definitely have to check it out. I was a little too young back there to partake in that, but all I've heard is go to Asheville now. Go to my uncle. I was just hanging out with him last month. He's like, "Come, you got to go to Asheville."
Yeah, if you go, seriously, I'll give you a list of breweries.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. No, let me know. Yeah, my uncle lives in Banner Elk, which is right outside of Boone, there. And he was like, "Yeah, the brewery scene." He's a big IPA. He's a big Sam Adams guy.
Sure,
he got me into Sam Adams, but yeah, he was like, the brewery scene's huge. So got to take a trip. Definitely got to go.
Yeah, do it.
Back out there. We always like to ask our guests this: what was your first craft beer experience?
Man, okay. So there's two real experiences that sort of stick out in my mind. And the first, I'm not going to remember the name of the brewery, and I don't even know if they're still around, but the first was, and I was absolutely underage. I was probably, 15, 16 years old. And I was with my family in Maine, outside of Acadia National Park. And there's a brewery that was I'm trying to remember the name of this town. I'm spacing on it, but that did a blueberry ale. And at the time, blueberry ales have sort of been bastardized and have fallen out of favor in the craft beer world. But I remember my dad being like, you need to try this beer, because it was made with Maine blueberries and whatever. And I don't think I ever really liked beer at that age, like 15 or so. I was like, because if you were ever drinking a beer with some crappy, like, I don't know, golden anniversary or some shit. But yeah, so I remember drinking that and being like, wow, like that's actually really good. I didn't know that beer could taste like this. But really what solidified it for me was moving out to Boulder, and I'll never forget taking a trip to Fort Collins to see a concert at the Ogden and drinking a Sunshine Wheat at that concert, and just being like, everything is right in the world. The beer was fantastic. You're at this awesome concert venue in Fort Collins. The beer's made it, just down the street. And that was it. I was like, that's amazing. So those two experiences kind of like stick out in my head.
Yeah. Well, it's always good when you have that connection. Like, I feel like everyone has a craft beer. So Matt and I always talk about Matt, yours was.
I believe mine. So I don't know if you can consider this craft because it was like 2009. I remember I had a shock top at a concert, but the first brewery that I went to in DFW in person on like a Saturday to do like their tour was RAR. That was one of my first ones, and I think Community was actually my second one because in college, our group of friends, Charlie and I, we both went to UTA, and we have a group of friends that we would go to a new brewery like every month. So we've been to several of them, and one of them was actually Community, and we obviously loved it there. We all had a great time, but mine was RAR. Man, it's crazy to think about because that was like a 2011, something like that. It was so long ago, and it's been really cool to see how the scene has grown. Where it's been, and it's awesome because it's obviously good for us, the consumer, and it's good for you guys, and it's been I don't know, man. I think we live in. I always tell this to people, but I think we live in a great time for beer. I mean, we don't have like one or two choices. Now we have like all these choices, and you can buy beers from Colorado, from Washington State. You buy them from down the street, even like Arlington's kind of picking up. They have a couple breweries now, so it's been a really cool. It's almost like I would call it like a beer renaissance period. Almost.
Yeah.
And it's just been really cool to see what people come up with, and I think you guys are striking gold here, and like this, like I've never had it, and it's great, and like the Mosaic, I can't talk enough about that beer. It's a great beer.
We almost never made that beer.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mosaic, man. Imagine that. I mean, that is obviously it's our best seller, and it's really allowed us to
Good thing you made it.
Everything else. But now, when we first started, Kevin, he was sort of like, man, everybody makes IPAs. We're not like, let's not do that. Let's not do what everybody else does. And then Jamie brewed a pilot batch at Mosaic. He was like, we're going to make IPAs. That's going to happen for sure.
I take it back.
Really good. Yeah.
I trust you, Jamie.
Yeah,
every now and again, though, that comes up where it's like, yeah, Kevin, remember when you said like we weren't gonna do
IPAs? And then you did hazy. I love Brett's Get It On. Whenever I go to the tap room, like I love that.
That was a great beer. It is a great beer. We don't make it much anymore. Not a lot of people understood what that beer was. So it was a 100% Brettanomyces fermented IPA, right? So Brettanomyces, or Brett for short, is like a wild yeast and creates a lot of like funky, slightly tart, barnyardy like flavors. Jester King uses Brett a lot, for example, but it was such a cool beer the way that Brett worked with a lot of the hops that we were using in that. I freaking loved it. And the cool thing about that is, the other cool thing is that beer actually like will hold up over time really well because of that wild yeast. And it changes it sort of like evolves from something that's a little bit more hop forward to something that's way more funky. But I freaking love that beer. But a lot of people were like, well, I don't know if this is like like an IPA, like a normal traditional IPA. That's not what it is. And so it's sort of like, I don't know, people didn't get it.
Is there a lot of like, how long is the discussion on like, okay, like we try this for a little bit, now it's time to like scale it back for now? Like how long does that take to like, is it like instant kind of just, or does it take a while before you decide, okay, we need to pull this away for now?
Yeah, it's always a conversation that we're having, especially with our distributors. Like, okay, how are things doing, and do you have? I mean, we need to take recommendations from them. I mean, they're our partners in this, right? And we couldn't do what we do without our distributors. So we try to always like balance feedback from our distributors, what they're seeing in the market, what they hope that we do, and what we want to do as brewers. And so hopefully those two things align. Sometimes they do, and as sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
And so it's we're always evaluating, like, okay, where are our beers, and we're always tweaking our recipes too. That's the other thing, is a lot of people think that, you make a beer and you don't change it and it's just what it is. And that's not really the case. I mean, we've tweaked Mosaic over the years for sure, and for the better, because, there's always ways to improve. Like, if we have the ability to procure better quality hops, which will, like, whatever it may be, or we increase our knowledge about the brewing processes, like, we're going to use that knowledge to try to like enhance our products whenever we can.
Sure.
So, but we have seasonals, so we have like sort of like this tiered portfolio where we've got our core beers that we make year round. Then we've got our seasonal beers that we offer on a rotating sort of like quarterly basis-esque. And then we've got our small batch series, which is much more quicker, small batch, obviously like smaller scale, but that rotate every, like, I don't know, maybe month or so, depending on how sales go. And then we've got a few other like outliers that don't really fall into a normal calendar. And as we see like something doing really well in the seasonal or small batch category, we might then decide to move it up into like a bigger, more often like available beer, I guess you could say. So right now, like medical grade haze, we're how I gotta like delicately, like, how many people are gonna hear this? So we'll probably, we're looking at doing medical grade haze on a bigger scale in the near future. Nice. And it's what the market is asking for, as much as we sort of like, I don't know, hazy IPAs, man, taking or leaving. Some people are like all about hazy IPAs, obviously. And some are like, I don't care at all about a hazy IPA. But it's done well for us. So we're like, okay, maybe it's time that we look at making this on a seasonal or maybe like a quarterly basis, or maybe year round. Is there opportunity there to work it in? And so, yeah, hopefully that answered your question.
No, yeah, definitely. Is there, you mentioned how at first, like, we're, not going to do IPAs, and then you did. Is there anything you're kind of still on the fence of for now, but are willing to kind of keep an open mind to?
Over the years, so I mentioned Jamie sort of started as a very traditional brewer, and he was a big fan of like your very like authentic Belgian and German styles and English styles of beer. And so I grew up in northern New Jersey, where as the beer scene has grown there, like guys like Equilibrium and Other Half are like blowing up with their New England style or hazy IPAs. And so like I was just having beer shipped to the brewery like all the time, because I'm like, Jamie, like, dude, try this, like try it, like Trillium, like Treehouse, Other Half, let's try, like, we need to know what's going on in a different part of the country and what's like really taking off for these breweries. And so for a while it was like, we're not going to do a hazy IPA. We're not going to do it. It's a fad. It's like, and we did some small batches, but it was really like something that at the time this is years ago, that we weren't interested in doing. But I think eventually the market got to where we felt like, okay, we can sell enough of it. People understand what it is and they're interested in it. And we've got a recipe that we feel good about that, we can put out there. So I don't think there's anything that we're like, no, we're not going to do, but sometimes it just takes a lot of like market research, trying people, like getting inspiration from other breweries. Like that happens all the time where you're like, these guys are doing something really interesting and really different. Like maybe it's not for us right now, but maybe we can make it our own in some sort of way down the road if we try a few different like batches or something like that. So.
Yeah, I mean, the market is always interesting, especially with craft beer. I mean, there's always something new. Or you mentioned earlier, like barreled age. That's something I'm seeing a lot more. A lot of breweries are partaking in and doing the barreled age. Is there a particular, just going back to kind of your taste bud, your palate, that if you see it in the store, you're going to go for it? Any particular style that no matter the given the day, you can always have it?
I don't know, man. I'm pretty open. I don't.
You love it all.
there's not really a style of beer that I wouldn't try for sure.
Yeah, at least one.
Things that interest me, I guess. I'm always interested when a brewery, especially a newer brewery, is putting out a lager. Lagers are very difficult beers to make. You can't hide any off flavors in a lager, right? So it's sort of like a show of talent. Like if you can make a solid lager, you know what you're doing. Versus like an IPA, dude, you can throw a lot of hops at something and sort of mask the underlying maybe issues you have with the beer. You can't do that with lagers. So anytime I see a newer lager come out, I'm always interested in that. That's for sure. So yeah, that's where I go first. Really, it is. Yeah.
I remember Brooklyn Lager. I've always loved the Brooklyn Lager. That might have been one of my first, I think, that I experienced. But of course, like I said, Texas Lager is awesome. I mean, lagers, Kolsch's, I'd say Ambers, Red Ales are ones that I've usually. Matt, what about you? What has always been your go-to?
I'm actually I'm a bit of a lager kind of guy. I like the lager Kolsch kind of spectrum of beer. But kind of like Corey said, like I'll try anything at least once. Like if there's an IPA I've never had before, I'll try it. And if I don't like it, no big deal. It's like I'm in the wine industry, so if you don't like this like Cabernet, then okay, that's fine. But there's so many more that you can choose from.
Oh yeah.
And it's same for beer. Like you don't like this IPA, but you might like another one, or it's I guess it's obviously it's all on an individual basis, but if you just kind of branch out and try new things, you'll find something you like, because whatever you like now, you tried it at least one time, right? So you might as well just keep, branching out. Like you don't have to keep drinking the same thing. I mean, you might as well take advantage of the craft beer that we have at our disposal, and like try different ones, and something you never had before. Like I like sours. I know a lot of breweries don't make sours because I know it can be kind of aggressive in the system and everything. I think Jester King, they make only sours now, I believe. I'm not really sure about that, but
they went that way. I think recently they actually started making clean beer again, which is sort of interesting. But I mean, very recently. But they dedicate most of, if not all, of their brewing operations to wild or spontaneous fermented beers. So it's a cool thing. It's a great brewery, man. I don't know if you guys have been there, but very cool spot.
I haven't been in person, but I definitely have. I've had their beer.
Yeah, I've had their.
It's a beautiful setting to drink a beer, without a doubt. It's out, sort of hill country in Austin, and it's basically on a farm, and it's wouldn't be a bad place to work. It's pretty scenic and
Hill
sweet.
Country's
Sweet
very
for sure.
nice. If you ever go out
Yeah.
to Kerrville, almost went to college out there to Shriner. It's so beautiful. I mean, perfect setting out there. We talked about, the beers. What about on a previous episode, we talked about can art, and can art always gives sort of the character to the beer. When you're coming up with the beer, do you have the name first, or do you have a visual of what you would like, or does it all kind of come at once?
Oh man.
Because I love your guys' can art. It's great. But just kind of the process that goes into that.
It sort of differs every beer that we do. Sometimes we've got an idea for a beer, a recipe or a style that we want to do. And we nail down the recipe and then things come later. Sometimes it's the other way around where we're like, I want to do something like with this sort of like name or, but I think overall I don't know, man, it generally starts with myself and Russ and Jamie, our brewer, sort of trying to figure it all out. And at the end of the day, I think we really only have like a couple goals in mind, and it's one is to have fun with it. We have a lot of fun with our small batch series. Things seem to get weirder and weirder as we go, which is kind of nice. But yeah, I mean, like even just like the small thing, like, this guy who's like rocking aviators on the top head. We wanted to make it fun. Like, you're doing this low-cal IPA and it's like, oh, it's because it's better for you. And so can we do like some Bjorn Borg like style hop with aviator sunglasses? And, but yeah, I don't know, man. And then you have to like think about making something that's recognizable on the shelf that people sort of understand that, okay, yeah, that's a community beer. So it sort of fits in your portfolio, but it stands out in some sort of way so people can, when you look at an aisle, like a cold set, there's so many. I mean, same thing with wine. Wine is even more difficult, I think, to differentiate yourself because, you've got smaller real estate and more competitors. But so you got to try to figure something that's like eye-catching or, so it's, I don't know, man. And sometimes it's like, oh, yeah, that label sucked. It didn't work out, or, we got it. And it's sort of like the recipes too, where we're like, maybe we tweak it a little bit over time, make slight adjustments. We tweak the Texas lager. The one that you're drinking is a little bit different than like the can that we were doing 8 months ago. But I don't know. It's different for every beer, really.
It definitely captures Texas, though. You got the oil thing going on.
Yeah.
Well, on Mosaic, you can spot, like, when you see that it just captures your eye, the Mosaic label.
Yeah. And even that we've made some tweaks to over time, but hopefully nobody's really, like, noticed. But, I don't know. Yeah.
It's kind of like we mentioned before we started recording. By the way, we had a full podcast before we started recording earlier. We were talking about like just how albums and like the variety pack and that's kind of the thing about CDs and albums. The logo, the artwork there is what just kind of catches your eye a mile away. And I feel like going back, to the can art, that's a big kind of identity with craft beer. I would say.
Yeah, it is. Without a doubt, it's your outlet to the public, right? It's an opportunity for you to kind of like express who you are and what your personality is like, and so yeah, I mean we try to have fun with it, and something that's sort of unique, I guess, maybe to not necessarily just to us, but certainly like a brewery our size. I mean, we're not that big, but everything is done in-house. We don't work with like a marketing firm. We don't like outsource any of our artwork. It's all done in-house. So that's pretty cool for us to have like the ability to say, okay, you know what? Like, here's what we want to do. And we get down a road and say, actually, like, that's a terrible idea. We're gonna scrap that and like, let's start over real quick and see if we can come up with something better. So but it's and to also be able to be like, hey, Jamie, like, come take a look at this. What do you think, man? You cool with this? You think this is like what you envisioned for this sort of beer? And so it's a little bit of a collaborative thing. And we have this office, which we don't use currently, but we call it Party Mountain. And it's
Nice.
it's basically, so we built this cubicle area in our tap room, which if you've been there recently, you probably saw this, like, sort of looks like it's made of pallets, but it just says beer for the greater good on the outside. And in that are like two, like, benches, like rows of desks, where it's basically our marketing and accounting team, I guess you could say. So it's really close quarters, which can get interesting, but it's also very collaborative. And so it's cool to be like, okay, Dave with social media, Russ he's the guy that really, like, tightens our shit up. Like, I'll send him awful ideas for things and he can make it look amazing. But we work together, and Jamie will come in and we'll sit down and just have these, like, let's talk over a pint and figure this out. And here's what we want. And this is, like, the goal we're going for. And so it's a cool process, I guess, is where I'm going with that. But
I mean, those are the best business meetings. Go grab a pint.
we don't have any meetings without pints at the brewery, man.
I think that should be a thing with all jobs, by the way. Have a pint.
Dude, that's a funny thing. Like, any meeting I have at the brewery, at any time, I always offer people beer. So just to see how they react, because it could be like a 9 a.m. meeting. I'm like, do you want a pint? Like, just to see, like, whatever it is, just to see how they react. But yeah, try to schedule most of our meetings in the afternoon. So
yeah,
there's always beers involved. Yeah.
Is it a Mosaic pint? That would be an interesting.
I try to not drink Mosaic while I'm working, whenever possible. It's a slippery slope.
So you go with a lager, mate.
Yeah. Lager's a good go-to for sure. And it's always, you can, like, tell what kind of a day somebody's having based on, like, if we have, like, that 3 p.m., 4 p.m. meeting, what beer they go for. It's like, oh, you're going Mosaic? Rough day? Or, like, barrel-aged stout, where you're like, wow, dude, like, really?
Are you all right?
yeah, exactly.
And the important thing, you find that happy place after you've had that.
Yeah.
So
you learn a lot about people based on the beers they drink,
What are some upcoming, beer that fans of yours can expect here in the near future? Anything in the world?
Yeah, so we still have some medical grade haze left. Not much. That was just released about a week ago. Double dry hop medical grade haze will be released on Monday. I believe it's totally sold out though. So sorry. After that, we will be doing 2 more small batch IPAs. And then we will move into we've got this barrel aged beer that we've sort of been, like, toying with, and we've got the label done. And so we're just sort of, like, waiting to figure out when we're going to be able to release this. But it's a Goza. So, it's like a slightly tart beer brewed with sea salt. And it's been sitting in tequila barrels with orange and cherry. So it's sort of like a beer version of a tequila sunrise. That's sort of what we were going for there.
Okay.
So it's called Barrel Aged Tequila Sunrise, and it's a badass label. It's like a serape, like, textured over a skyline, over the Dallas skyline. It's cool.
Wow.
Okay.
So that will be coming up at some point as well. Not exactly sure when. It's a tough balancing act right now, where, like, releasing these small batch seasonal beers into the market, given where the market's at, it's sort of like, that we're unsure of doing a lot of these, like, very specialty beers, like a tequila barrel aged goza is a sort of a niche product.
Yeah.
So if we release it right now, it's a pretty big gamble for us whether or not people really like get behind it or not. So we're doing quite a few IPAs because people like IPA, man.
They do,
without a doubt. So.
Well, you guys do a great job with your IPAs. Like I said, the Mosaic. I mean, I know you don't have it right now, but Brett's getting on. I thought it was really good. And of course, you mentioned Citra Slice, so you can go check that out. I also love your Yes Sir Pella. I'm a big Pella. I would say I'm a big Pella. Like forever, like I wasn't an IPA, but I said like Pella was something until I had Mosaic. But I love the Yes Sir. I got that variety pack yesterday where I have Citra, Mosaic, and Yes Sir. So,
yeah, the hot box.
It's good.
Dude, Yes Sir is a great beer for sure. We're gonna do a double dry hop version of Citra Slice too.
Really?
That'll be coming up. Yep.
Well, we'll have it here on the podcast.
So that'll be coming up in the next maybe month or two.
Something for people to look forward to.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So I know like this, this law passed, like it's been months now, but Beer to Go was passed in Texas. How have you guys, I'm sure you guys have benefited from it, but what did you think about that when that finally passed?
Man, it's about time.
Right?
I know you work for that.
Long overdue.
Well, I know you work for a distributor, but
yeah,
for us again, it was one of those antiquated laws that were put in place that would really it was just detrimental to our business. You have people coming into our brewery, enjoying a pint, and it's like I can't buy a 6-pack to take home with me.
It's a weird idea that you can't buy something you're literally just drinking.
Yeah, it is. Even weirder that you could if you were at a distillery or a winery. So it's sort of a strange law. But it's been great for us, man. It allows us to really like experiment with some of these smaller batch beers. Really, is what happens because you don't. I don't know, like an experimental beer that you're not really sure will work in the market. That you don't want to brew on a big scale and invest in all of the packaging and getting it out to the consumer and all the associated marketing and point of sale and yada yada. It gives you an outlet to test that product out on a small scale and say, okay, you know what, we'll do a very, very small batch of this just to see if people like it. So that's cool to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and then obviously now given the pandemic has changed our perception of beer to go altogether. And for sure. I think for a lot of breweries, it's like beer to go, at least in our world, it was, I don't want to say it was like an afterthought. It certainly wasn't an afterthought, but it was just like a secondary component to what we were doing. And now it's a primary function of what we're doing. We're like, man, but we probably need to make this a bigger focus even after this pandemic, because we're realizing that you can, hopefully continue to engage your consumer to come out to the brewery and buy beer to go. So yeah, it's cool. But at the same time, we also need to get behind supporting all of our retail partners too, so without them, I mean, our beer to go sales would never, it's a drop in the bucket compared to the relationships that we have with our retail partners. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I remember when that finally passed, I was like, oh, good. That means that, whenever, if I have a beer at a brewery and they'll say it's only available in this small area, then, then I might be able just to buy it from them and take it home directly. So it really helps you guys out, and it's good for us, the consumer, as well. That way we can just, take it home. We don't have to go hunt down a store an hour away from our house, find it there. And then if they have it, so yeah, I think that you're right. It was antiquated, and it was, that's like a no brainer. All of us were like, yeah, why not? Why was this even a thing? Why couldn't we do it before?
Yeah.
But Yeah, I just kind of want to get your input on that because, I know that passed a while back, but I mean, I remember Charlie and I were pretty excited about it because, sometimes like the flagship beers that people make are available in stores, but they're smaller batch ones like what you were just talking about aren't. And, what if we would like to have that one, so.
Yeah.
It's good for everybody, honestly.
It's
really
nice.
is.
Yeah, I agree. And again, it's like, dude, small batch, like something like that works out, and we see it. I mean, if it sells well and people are into it, we're going to scale it up and get it out to our retail partners for sure. There's no sense in, we're not going to be like, oh, that beer was awesome, it sold so well. Let's not do it again. Like, let's not,
let's go.
So,
yeah. Well, I mean, it was long overdue, like we've been saying, and there's just, and especially, I mean, right now with everything going on, I mean, it's obviously very important. But I mean, we're also a very like in and out society too. We talked about the digital part of our society, but I feel like there's so many people that, they kind of would love to take your craft experience and bring it home,
sure.
as well. So, for a while with craft beer, you had the growlers or crowlers, but this is even better, obviously. So
it is, yeah.
And it's exciting to see where we go from here now. So,
yeah. It's a whole new world, man.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, well, right now, everybody's just having to kind of get a little bit of creative. And what do you think about like also going back with restaurants? And I know there was legislation passed about, beer or alcohol being delivered by restaurants along with food. Mm-hmm. Do you think that should definitely stay going forward? And have you heard of anything where that could continue?
I have not heard of like how that will play out once this thing is over. I don't have any information on that. As far as right now goes, I mean, I'm all for businesses getting creative to make money and to make ends meet. Especially now, I think it's like, you got to do what you got to do to make sure that you're around after this whole thing, especially in the service industry. It's super tough. I don't know if that will continue. My guess is that it probably won't. But I'm not sure.
I guess the ultimate question too is, there's unfortunately a lot of people who are unemployed, or, while we may predict like a surge of people after this, there's still going to be a lot that are affected where they may have to stay more home or kind of limit, going out. So they'll, it's not like, you open a tab at a brewery, bar, or restaurant. You may have to bring that with you and just kind of with cutting costs a little bit. So, I mean, that may be a beneficial thing moving forward is having that continue to where you can order beer or any alcohol beverage with your food.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, from a personal standpoint, I'm all for it. Especially like to see some of these guys doing some really creative stuff, like margaritas or like old fashions to go, and like I think it's great. So yeah, from like as a consumer, sure, I love it. I go to Mexican place down the street, and it's like, yes, I'll take a margarita to go right now. Of course. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how some of these business practices change or whatever once this is over, without a doubt.
Although I will say I love the tap room experience. Every brewery has their own kind of atmosphere, environment. I love that you guys have cornhole there in the tap room as well. And of course, like we said earlier, live music as well. But I think that's what's kind of cool is that environment, that atmosphere. What is it like with you guys as a team? What is a kind of a typical day for Community Brewery as far as an employee? Is it a lot of high energy, joking, also creative?
I mean, but honestly, like, it's not as exciting as you'd think. For the most part, I spend my day in front of a computer in Party Mountain.
I love the title though.
yeah. But it's a really good group of people. And I think that's what it comes down to is we've got a pretty tight knit group, people from really all over the country, from varying backgrounds. And there's so many different components to the beer industry. I mean, like a lot of other industries, but to where we're an events, we've got our tap room, we're an events hub, we're a production, packaging facility. We've got a lab, we've got our accounting team. So it's sort of, there's a lot going on. But anytime it gets to that point in the day where everybody's sort of like wrapping up, it's nice to have a beer and, with everybody. There's always that sort of like, and it just comes at different times of the day. Because we're typically 24 hours a day, 7 days a week is where we're at. So, it's sort of interesting to come in, like you come in the morning when the night crew, the overnight is getting off work at like 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m. They're like having beers and smoking cigarettes on the back dock. And, it's really funny when like, Dirk Nowitzki or Mark Cuban is pulling to share like a building with the Mavs. When they're pulling in for practice at like 8 a.m. and these guys are drinking beers, and it's like, hey, yeah, good to see. But no, I mean, we've got a pretty talented group of people, and it's cool to see, beer like bring everybody together. Our employee parties get a little weird, get a little out of control. That's always a lot of fun. But at the end of the day, it's not as crazy as you'd think. Like, it's certainly not like a frat house or something where people are just drinking all the time. It's definitely not like that.
Shotgunning beers and all that.
We did at one point have Shotgun Friday. That was a real thing where, everybody would shotgun. That was years ago. Not so much anymore. But
that sounds fun though.
But it's a good place to work, and like, Kevin will tell you, it's funny. Like, the founder, Kevin, he never wears pants. So like, that's,
I think there's a lot of people right now can
only wear shorts. But I'm talking about like, so this guy, he got out of his last business, which was like litigation software, and he was like, I'm never fucking wearing a suit. Like, I'm just not gonna wear a suit again. And he takes it even further to where this guy, I mean, if he wears a pair of pants, like, you're like, oh, what, did you have like a fucking job interview today, dude? Like, you were in jeans. Like, what is going on here?
You all right?
No, visit with the Texas legislation?
Dude, I mean, it's hilarious.
Got jury duty?
I mean, he'll have like serious meetings, and he's always wearing like shorts and t-shirt. Always.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So there's that casualness of it though, which is nice. Like, I don't have to worry about like, dude, like my beard, is it getting like really out of control? Like, do I have to put on a button shirt or something? Like, no. Like, if I wear a button shirt, people are like, dude, you kind of dressed up, right? What's going on?
You got a job interview?
We missed the memo.
There's that. So there's that casualness, but at the same time, it's like you get your shit done. Like, you work, it's a lot of hours, and people work their asses off for sure. I mean, it's definitely it's an industry of like passion, where people really do care about what they're doing, and we don't make $1 million, that's for sure. We don't make a lot of money. So the people that are in it are people that really just care about the beer that we're putting out, and, the company and who we are. And so I don't know. I guess that's what it's like to work at community.
Well, sounds like a lot of fun though. I mean, and you guys
man.
are been doing and continue to do awesome work. And I I've heard that you guys also like to help support other breweries as well, especially some they get started, kind of share your advice. And I think that's great. That's what I've always looked at, like the brewery scene, and especially here, is everybody's kind of helping each other. All, like you said earlier, all in this together, which I think is special, because in some industries, there is competition, but I feel like, you guys kind of all do your same thing and have your different takes on the beers. Like you mentioned, IPAs and that, but you all have your own takes and stuff. So it from our perspective, it doesn't feel like competition because we enjoy them all. But from your perspective, I mean, how is that as far as the camaraderie, especially right now going on? Like, has a lot of other breweries reached out to you and stuff as that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it is. The collaborative nature of the beer industry is definitely, I think, pretty unique. And we do work together a lot in one way or another, whether it's just something very simple being like, hey, where do you, what vendor do you use for this packaging material? Or, hey, how are you brewing this beer? Or, do you have any like hops that we could buy from you or what? So that goes on constantly all the time. And there is that underlying at the end of the day, if somebody's going to drink a beer from Lakewood or Pedicolis or Celestial or Turning Point or whatever, if they've already made that transition away from drinking your macro beers to drinking craft and drinking local, chances are they're going to drink one of our beers at some point, because that's the nature of the craft beer consumer, is that they do want to try a lot of different beers and branch out and see, what everybody's doing. And so, so it's sort of it's a win for us if it's, Lakewood Lager, or if it's, Deep Elm's Blonde, Dallas Blonde, or if it's, somebody else's beer that gets you to that point. It's sort of a win for everybody, because the reality of it all is we're still a pretty small percent of the beer industry, right? I mean,
right.
It really. So, while it is competitive, of course, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's limited shelf space, limited tap handles. It's still, at the end of the day, we're always looking to help each other out however we can. And to have fun while you're doing it. I mean, yeah, if you're in the beer industry and you're not having fun, you're fucking up. I'm sorry. You have to have fun working at the brewery. For sure. Because if you're not having fun, and then theoretically your customers aren't either. If you're So, but yeah, it is unique and it's cool, and especially in Texas, man. Texas is way more collaborative than it was in Colorado, for sure.
Really?
And maybe that's just the nature of that, the fact that there was a lot more breweries and it wasn't as tight-knit of a group. But for sure, here in Dallas and Texas in general, it's a pretty awesome community. If you go out to GABF, the award ceremony, anytime any brewery from Texas wins a medal, every freaking Texas brewery there is cheering for them, for sure. It's cool. It's really cool. Yeah.
Well, there's so many more, still opening here, even on the smaller scale. I know one just opened in the community I grew up, which I think is awesome. I mean,
Vector.
Vector. Yeah.
Tommy and Craig, they're good guys, man.
Yeah.
They're awesome. And I give them a lot of credit for opening when they did. I mean, they have overcome a lot of obstacles to get open. I don't know if you know the whole background. At some point you can have them on and they can tell you all about it, but they've had a lot of challenges. And so for them to say, you know what, even though this pandemic is going on, we're going to open and we're going to give it a shot. And they're killing it. From what I haven't even made my way over there, because every time I've talked to Tommy, who's their head brewer, he's like, dude, it's crazy. We can't keep up. And I'm I'm just going to stay away from that for a while. Then,
it's great for Lake Highlands. I mean, it's really good for Lake Highlands. And Lake Highlands has always been great about supporting their local businesses. There's a pizza place there called Tony's Pizza Pasta. If you haven't been, definitely go. And I mean, that's what's great. And when I heard that they were open, I was like, that's awesome. And, the little small community over there. Well, it's not too small. It's a growing community, but still to have a brewery open up over there is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, but that's how beer used to be, right? It always was about sort of supporting your backyard and your neighborhood, right? So as things grow, in some ways they sort of shrink and become more hyper local. And you'll see a lot more places that'll open that are not necessarily concerned with grabbing shelf space or tap handles or getting their beer outside of the few miles that they consider their neighborhood, right? It's more about like butts and seats, like come out, this is your go-to place that you bring your kids to, or because we're a mile from your house. That's how beer used to be pre-prohibition, and certainly it's trending back to that, say in some way. And it's good, man. You should drink beer by people that and that's fresh and that's made in your community, I think. So yeah,
for
sure.
Well, I gotta take a quick break, so Matt, if you guys want to continue real quick.
All right.
Well, I'm gonna grab, I don't know how much longer we're going, but I could use a beer.
Yeah. Well, I think we're probably pretty close, it looks like, to about 2 hours. So I actually wasn't planning on it being this long, but we've been talking and things have been good. So
no, it's fun chatting with you guys, man. It's always nice to, especially these days when like our social interactions are pretty limited. It's nice to just like sort of get out and like get to just shoot the shit. It really is. It's necessary to stay sane.
Yeah, and being able to talk about things that we both enjoy, which is obviously in this case beer.
Yeah,
it's nice to sit down and talk about it. Because for me, and I don't know if you're working primarily from home or if you're going to community brewery itself, but like for me, it's just work and then come right back home and work, come right back home, and it's like,
I'm working from home these days. It's not necessarily essential that I'm there. I definitely am. I guess you could say I'm lucky enough to be able to work remotely.
Right.
I definitely miss going into the brewery every day for sure. But right now we're running, we're running a skeleton crew, no doubt. We used to be 24 hours, 7 days a week. We're now, we've cut back a few shifts, definitely the weekend. Our tap room really is, or beer to go is really being run by our tap room manager and with a little help from like one or two other people. But for the most part, the only people that are going into the brewery are people that are in either brewing or packaging beer, and then our tap room manager, and that's about it. So
okay, so just so everyone knows, like, what are community's hours for buying beer to go right now? That way everybody knows.
Yeah, we should have talked about that in the beginning.
We should have.
We're
full circle.
I'm not good at my job. We're 7 days a week from 12 to 7. And you can so communitybeertogo.com. You can go online, you can order your beer, and you can set your pickup time. And if you want to order it days ahead of time or for pickup in like an hour, you can do whatever you want. We're partnering up with local restaurants. So it's like, dude, if you want to grab a pizza or some burgers or something like that as well, it's cool. At least kind of one-stop shop it a little bit. But yeah, every day of the week, 12 to 7. Yeah,
we'll put that information in the post. That way people know. That way they don't have to listen to 2 hours of the podcast.
Yeah, they're like, well, I just want to get to that one part. When can I go?
So 12 to 7 every day.
12 to 7 every day, and we'll keep pumping out some small batch stuff. We're trying to keep it interesting, and so man, yeah, it's interesting to see how the beer industry has evolved in the last month very quickly, and how quickly everybody has sort of adapted to these new regulations. But overall, it's been amazing to see the support from people like you and from the community, for lack of a better word, because, without that, it'd be, for sure, it'd be tough.
Yeah. I think that's at the forefront of a lot of everyone's minds that I've been talking to, I'll ask them like, what are you guys eating tonight? Well, everyone's been like, if we're not cooking at home, we're gonna try to find someone local.
Yeah.
And because we know like how a lot of your business is from people coming into the front door. So when that's gone, you don't really have a whole lot left. So I mean, thank God we have Beer to Go. Thank God we have the internet right now, because we'll be reading books.
Dude, how about Amazon, right? Like, it is crazy to think about, though.
It really is.
Like, if this was 10 years ago, it'd be a much different situation for sure.
I'm pretty sure back then Netflix was still shipping out DVDs and they didn't have streaming.
Blockbuster was still around.
Hulu wasn't around.
Yeah, I wonder if Blockbuster would be considered an essential business.
That's a good question, because I mean, especially with theaters, like I can only imagine what theater industry is going through.
Oh man,
right now,
it's not good.
That's got to be definitely rough. But Blockbuster, that would have been interesting, because, well, even 10 years ago, we were really getting into on-demand and streaming and that's when I think we started seeing a little bit of a decline of that industry. But I miss Blockbuster though at times. Like I mean, my old Blockbuster is a sports bar now, so that's a different atmosphere. But I mean, I do miss going to like Blockbuster and picking out a movie on a Friday, Saturday.
Every single Blockbuster smelled the same too. They
did have an interesting smell. Like
that's true.
But you know what's cool about them is that they sold like the movie theater candy and the popcorn and everything.
Yeah, at the checkout.
There's a new beer idea. You can come up with something like, remember Blockbuster, the Blockbuster.
I did see
Blockbuster. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. Like, I just, sort of along the same lines, but I saw Top and Goliath out of Iowa that they're doing a lot of like beer pairings with Netflix. So it's we recommend you watch this show and drink this beer. And they come out with like a weekly like calendar for you.
That's
like,
kind of cool.
Monday, watch this show, drink this beer. I'm like, it's interesting.
Which one of your beers would go with Tiger King? I mentioned that earlier, but that's that's so viral right now.
Man, yeah.
All of them, because you need all.
Every
episode intensifies.
Like, so dude,
I would probably think like the most outlandish beer you guys have.
I mean, right now it's like, I don't even know if we have any more of it, but like out of Mocha Barrel Aged Legion, like 12.6% ABV. Really get you in that mind state of being like, let's fucking get weird with this.
Is this real life? I don't know if it is or not.
I would go like really big alcohol for that, for sure.
You know that there's got to be somewhere out there brewing a beer right now, kind of thinking of something to kind of tile on. That's definitely going to be, if Halloween happens this year, meaning like you can do Halloween parties, that's going to be the big group contest.
All right, so I'll give you guys a beer-related social account that you should follow just to see the shit that's coming out, like related to Tiger King and COVID and everything. So it's called The Worst Beer Blog.
Okay.
If you're familiar with that, it's basically just an accumulation of sometimes the most just absurd or awful things in the beer industry that are coming out. And it's always funny. So Worst Beer Blog, just check it out. It's always funny. They post all of the Tiger King beers. There's a lot of them.
Oh man. I was like, somebody's got to. You just know that and maybe Ozark season 3. A lot of people would talk about that one. And I don't know, there's so many you could do like Game of Thrones, even though it's over now.
Yeah, they had a wine for a while.
Did they really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, somebody did a beer. Somebody did a beer for Game of Thrones.
I want to say it was like I don't know. It was all I remember is that it was a dark beer.
It was.
I think it came in. I think it was a bomber of it.
It was.
Remember what it
like
was.
A 750. And I don't know if it was like Lost Abbey or if it was, I can't remember. But I remember like the packaging, but I don't remember the brewery.
That's amazing because you put like like a well-known TV show on like, a beer, and people don't even like that beer, but they're like, oh, look, it's Game of Thrones.
Yeah. I mean,
It's like, but you got
it's
them.
smart marketing.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
as long as the beer is better than the finale. Ooh, boom. There you go.
Oh, wow, you went there.
Yeah.
HBO's not going to listen to this.
Yeah, HBO's like, if we ever were to give you
they made
a
enough money
deal,
off of it. They
you're
don't care.
out.
Yeah, right. Yeah. The beer has really followed in terms of like labels and marketing wine in some ways, because it's like you would know these stats better than me, but how many people choose a wine based on a label?
My wife, for one, she's like, oh, this is really cute. Can we get this one? I'm like, oh, that's not good wine. Well, look at the label. It's a nice label. I'm like, well, which in her defense, it makes sense, because like, if a winery is successful, chances are they're going to put more marketing and everything into their label, and they're going to, really try hard. But some of them, like really great wines, they real simple, basic.
The old school. Yeah.
It's like, it kind of works and it kind of doesn't, honestly. It's, just like with price point, like you can buy like a $70 cap that's great, but you can also buy like a $20 one that's great.
Yeah.
So price doesn't always matter, but I guess sometimes it plays a factor. So
sure.
Yeah. Just so everyone knows out there, like, you don't have to spend a lot of money on a good bottle of wine. You can find a good one. Just explore, just like with beer, like we've talked about, just kind of, explore, try something you never had before, because like, I guarantee you, like, before I even had like a sour beer, I was like, I don't want that. I love sour.
Yeah.
So it's like, and like IPAs, for example, like I've had 2 today that I really enjoyed. So, it's all about trying new things. And now is like a good time. If you want to explore, then
yeah, it is.
Explore. And I really, honestly, that's for anything. Like for me, that's like music, food, and like, obviously beer, wine is a good one too. I always kind of correlate the two, beer and wine, with like, I already touched on it earlier. Like, if you don't like a Chardonnay, well, maybe you should try another one. So in other words, don't let one beer turn you off to an entire, like, if you don't like that IPA, don't write off all of them. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, agree.
There's gonna be one out there that you like. There's, especially now, there's so many of them that are out there. So
yeah, a lot of great beer coming out of, especially Texas. A lot of great beer coming out of Texas right now.
Yeah, I'm really proud of what our state's been doing with beer. I've even had people talk to me out of state about our beer down here, which is really cool to hear, because you'd think, well, maybe they're just buying their own. But yeah, I've like I told Charlie before, like, we're living in a great time where, a lot of breweries are coming up, small and big, and it's just been really cool to see the evolution of it all over the past, like, even 10 years. It's been really cool. And the community, it's like, every time I go to like, a tap room, it's, full of people and everyone's having a good time, and there's music, and, I think it's like we talked about, beer is a social thing, and people like to hang out. I don't, unless if I'm having a bad day, I don't really drink alone. Not judging people that do that, but I like to, like, if I'm, hanging out with the guys and, crack open a beer and, have a good time. I don't know. Like,
yeah,
there's not much else to it, dude. But yeah, it's been great. Yeah, we've wanted one of you guys on for, I don't know, like long time, because you guys are, for us, I think we're one of the first local breweries that we've ever like experienced firsthand. So
that's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
It's been great chatting with you guys, and at some point probably just have to have you down to the brewery where we can actually, like, in person drink a beer and show you around the back, and maybe actually get to enjoy some of the stuff that we're working on, give you a little, like, kind of behind the scenes view of what what we get to do as employees. And but yeah, it'll be nice to be able to enjoy a beer with people again soon.
I know. That's such a weird thing.
It's kind of like not taken for granted, but makes you not take for granted how much time you spend with people. You talk about, oh, I just need time home, but like, really, I mean, we work so much together, like everybody does, just being out and about, interacting, and it just feels weird not having that. And all about brewery, craft beer is, like Matt just said, like hanging out with friends and enjoying it. That's how we started this. Was in college, we actually, like, one of my first craft beer outside of like Austria, but really was a pizza place there by UTA called Old School Pizza and Suds, and they had Alaskan Amber and Dell's Pale Ale. And Matt and I used to go after class, have a beer, and just talk about whatever. And that's what kind of sparked this. I mean, it's a brewing conversation. You have so many great conversations over beer.
Yeah.
So
the only difference is that we're recording our conversation. That's
it. I mean, I'll be honest. There's so many people that could have a podcast like conversation. So
right.
Well, yeah, we want to thank you again. For taking your Saturday out and chatting with us. And like I said, we love
Tuesday, man.
I know, Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday. It's all taking the day. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Taking your day out and chatting with us. Like I said, we love community. Anytime. And you guys are doing great things, and keep it up. And hopefully all this will eventually we'll be able to get back, and we'll come and join you guys.
Yeah, for sure.
No, seriously, thanks again. And we've got some stuff in the works. So like a little bit down the road, let's circle back and we'll have you guys out. And I would love to chat further about some of the shit that we've got going on and enjoy a beer with you guys in person for sure.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Yeah, hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah.
Well, I think by doing this kind of, this helps a little bit with flattening that curve. I think I just like Matt said earlier, stay positive. That's the big thing.
Yeah, follow the rules.
Cheers,
Dallas County's mask now, I think.
Yeah, after tonight. This is Saturday. So whenever this comes out, after Saturday, April 18th, you for sure to essential businesses. And most people are doing a good job about wearing masks going to the store now.
They are.
But moving forward, you have to have them.
Yeah, I'm sure Tarrant County won't be too far behind on that. That's where I'm at. So I'm sure that they'll be like, yeah, Dallas County's doing it, so we probably should too. Hopefully we'll all get back to normalcy, and we'll, like we've already talked about, we'll come down into the tap room, and we'll I don't know, we'll probably contact you before we can head over there. And it'd be nice to, we'll actually be able to shake each other's hands.
That's something.
Elbow thing all the time.
Yeah, shaking the hand. Well, you see all this about like hugging and shaking hands and how you take that for granted. Like,
it's really hard to get out of that mindset because I'm always like,
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, man. I'm clean, but
have you seen that Hulk Hogan Macho Man viral video where they did a whole promo back in the day where Hulk's like, I don't know, man. Trying not to make a deal and shake hands. So that's how.
Brother.
I mean, I wonder the paranoid. Like, are people gonna shake hands again? Is it gonna be fist bumps or is it just gonna be, hey, how's it going? But I think I can't wait just to be back into venues and seeing everybody in atmosphere.
Yeah, dude. I will cheers the last sip of my beer.
Cheers
for sure.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Well, thank you again, Corey. Like I said, we will share this with you guys. But real quick, just where all the social media accounts that people can find community, like they can find you guys.
Yeah.
As far as like
social media, Twitter, Instagram, like what's they can
all the things at Community Beer Co, communitybeer.com or communitybeer2go.com. But we're on all of the socials for sure, and we'll share this without a doubt. So once you guys have it all condensed and edited and to however you think it's good to go, we'll send it out too. So come, I guess the last thing I have to say is just keep supporting your local brewers, man.
Sure.
Now more than ever, I can assure you that local breweries definitely appreciate buying their beer from either straight from the brewery or out on the shelves or whatever that looks like. But we definitely need the support of our communities without a doubt. So,
Remember, guys, every day, 12 to 7, community, get beer to go. You can schedule it, like Corey said earlier. support them. And
super easy. Bring it right out to your car.
yeah,
You don't even have to get out of your car.
It doesn't even like. What more could you ask for?
Yes, you don't even have to put pants on.
Yeah.
Like, be like Kevin. Don't wear pants. Just
unless you're taking a Lyft or Uber, it's quite
maybe frowned upon, maybe not. I don't know.
You may get 2 stars.
Just tell the Uber driver, man, these are hard times. Okay.
Yeah, don't judge me.
Yeah.
Leave the guy a couple beers as a tip. Like, thanks, dude. Good looking out. So, all right, guys.
All right, man. Well, thank you again.
Yeah, thank you, Corey.
Appreciate it. You guys have a good evening and stay safe and healthy, okay?
You too.
All right. Thank you. You too.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.